Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Offshore Live number 14 with Mike Bocchino and Dante Napoli. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks.
having us.
It's like pulling teeth to get you fuckers in here, man.
They've been a little busy.
I
Got to
hear
keep the
that.
businesses rolling.
I heard somebody built a new class crusher.
I'll let you handle that one.
Not so much. I wouldn't say class killer, but or crusher, but it's doing pretty good.
I don't know, man. We can look at the data.
We
We
found
can
the
look
secret.
at the data.
Here's the secret.
What's the secret?
Everybody else in the class, they put it together, and they keep chasing, and they keep chasing, and they keep chasing. We put it together and haven't touched a boat since. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's our motto.
Yep. That's
Don't even pull it off. Let the drive rot. It's fine.
We've been living by it.
Well, where'd you start this season? What was your first race?
This season, Point Pleasant.
Point?
Yep.
Yeah.
Point
So
Pleasant.
Point, well, we all got smoked by Kyle and Jay in Point.
Yep.
But then from there, you went to Sarasota, right?
Yep.
And now there, you guys dominated there. I don't know if we'd say dominated, but the boat was on fire.
We did very well. Britt was hanging with us. Had a little mishap where in the turn, me and Britt talked after the race. I don't know if I cut it short or if he didn't go for the pin. And we ended up connecting, and he went back a little bit. But before that, we were battling pretty good.
Did you guys actually make contact?
Yes.
Yeah. So interesting.
$2,500 worth.
Nice. Attaboy. Attaboy. So there his throttleman there wasn't Kevin. It was Travis, right?
Travis.
So he was running with Travis Pastrana. So you guys got that notch on your belt. Not many people could say they kicked Travis Pastrana's ass.
That was pretty cool. I mean, everybody knows who he is. First time throttling a boat, but I think he did awesome down there.
Yeah. Well, even that video from onboard where you guys hit, I mean, he had it. He
and
did it
recovered
textbook.
very fast.
Yeah. I mean,
Recovered.
granted, he's in there with Britt, who could wheel the shit out of that thing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, man, that was good. And then, so you guys kind of got a couple of, not back-to-back, but back-to-back for the races you've been to, right? Then from
Yes.
there, you went to Eastlake?
Eastlake, Ohio. Great race, great venue. Everything's in one spot. It was a really nice time because the whole town came out and supported it.
Yeah.
And then what was
Well, you won there, right?
one in Eastlake. Got into another fender bender with my old boat, which is now North Myrtle Beach.
Uh-huh.
Another $2,500 repair.
Everything's $2,500 bucks.
Yeah.
And we got out of the boat. I saw Mark and Kirk on land, and they had this look on their face. And I'm sitting there looking at them, going like, "Oh man, they're mad. I ran into them. I thought I was the bad guy." Mark walks over and goes, "We're sorry for hitting you." And I was like, "All right,
Perfect.
As long as everybody's all right, we're good."
That's awesome. And then, so you missed St. Clair, and then you come to Michigan City, and you waxed everybody again.
Broke everything.
That was a tough weekend.
Living out of the back of a truck.
Went back with a different truck than you came with.
Yeah, we still got the other one, but we didn't bring it back yet.
It's still in Ohio.
Waiting for next year.
Maybe bring an extra driver and get it on the way out.
But listen, it's just impressive. It's not like I'm not trying to pump you guys up or puff your chests up, but it's impressive to step into the class. You obviously have a bit of experience, and Mike, you raced a couple of times prior, but not in that boat, obviously. And
In his old boat.
yeah. And so to step in and put together a string like that, I mean, you guys are doing phenomenal.
Yep. Yeah, we think we're doing pretty good. I mean, the boat's running good. We haven't had any issues with it. I want to say we're probably doing pretty good with setup, but there's still some stuff to work on, I would say.
We're probably at 70%.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
there's-
and that's something I've noticed too. Like for people watching this at home, a lot of the pro stock races this year, everybody's having some hiccups.
yes.
It's like Lily, would he kill a power steering pump in St. Clair? He was guardian the whole time in Michigan City. And our boat just doesn't make any sense, man. One day it's fast, one day it's not. It does whatever it wants. And it's just it's a wild class because what's cool is you could have a leader take off and run away with the race, but second, third, fourth, fifth, it's a battle all the way through, man. That race in Michigan City was one of the most impressive races I've watched all year.
Yeah. The four boats were up front for a very long time.
It took probably, I would say, 4 laps, probably 4 or 5 laps to really be able to say who was leading and who wasn't.
Yeah.
Before that, it was anybody's game.
Well, and it looked like for you guys were just picking them off on the outside.
Yeah.
It looked like, if you look at what's cool about it is for people that don't understand what's happening, right? that was a perfect race to try to explain it, because there you have you guys that are just marching through on the outside. And it was interesting because you'd get down to the turn, you're running the longer distance, so you're losing a little ground in the turn, but you're coming out at a higher rate of speed, you're traveling down the straightaways at a higher rate of speed. And it was interesting because that was the first time all year, if I wanted to talk about the differences in setup, that's where it was. I mean, you had a bunch of guys that went short, thinking maybe it'd be a little bumpy once we got out there, a couple guys that went big, and you could see the difference as the race went on.
Oh, definitely as it progressed, yes. And we didn't even realize it with the new data system until after the race, exactly what was going on.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
And that's pretty cool. That's the first I'd ever seen that. That's that Garmin thing.
I think it's called a Watt box, or it's something. So there's a name to it, but I had all the information. It's on my phone, but it is very cool. It's good for the guys on land, the crew on land, the family, everybody else, and the live stream, because they're telling them our speeds the whole time. I mean, it's not good for your competitors to know what we're running, but at the same time, everybody sees it. You know?
Right.
So it was good for the guys on land, because when we came out of the first turn, we were in like 5th, and everybody was running about 3 miles an hour less than us. So they were like, "We're okay.
Right.
They're gonna get them. You know, it's gonna take some time, but they'll get there." So you know, you don't on land. It's hard to tell that. You know, but now if you have something to read that the whole time, I think that's awesome.
Now, is your crew privy to the information?
Yeah, we had some. We've had a lot of intercom problems. Sometimes it works where we could talk to them, like Sarasota. It worked the whole time. That past race that they actually had the readings the whole time, it didn't work at all. So they knew what we were doing compared to everybody else, but unfortunately we had no idea where we stood until we started really reeling people in. At first I'm like, we're in trouble.
Right.
And then it took like a lap to try and figure it out, and then I actually seen your brother and your father, and I'm like, okay, we got mile an hour.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah.
When we first came out in the parade lap, I laid in it for a minute, and I'm like, dude, I think if there's a setup to have, we got it.
Oh, you nailed it.
I said, we nailed the setup. I don't think you're going to get it to go any faster than what we're doing without losing control of the boat, because it was just hairy. It wasn't, perfectly calm. It wasn't real rough. It was like a mixture of both. You know, it's like a lake,
Yeah.
So, but we kind of had an idea we nailed it, but at the first turn, when we came out and they were all gone, there was I think there was 4 of them out in front of us, and they were pretty far. We're like, maybe we didn't nail it, you know. But if we had our intercom, we would have known right off the bat in the first straightaway, look, you guys, our guys on land could have said, hey, you got 3 miles an hour on everybody,
Right.
you know. But,
So now what's it, like an app that you download or something that shows you the telemetry?
well, I think it's like a website.
Okay.
I didn't actually physically watch it. One of our crew guys had it. They gave him a link. I think Greg gave it to him. And they gave him a link, and then it shows the entire course with a map. Every boat is different color. Says our name, says everything on it.
Right.
The woman doing the announcing could announce your speed as you're going around the turn.
Right. And that was Janet from Lucas Oil.
yeah,
I
she did a
think
great
that's who
job.
gave everybody those GPS, I'm pretty
Right.
sure, who set everything up.
And I think they use that for their Ocean Cup stuff to keep track of the boats over those long runs. I don't know how far they go, but like the Catalina one's a trip.
Yeah.
But I think that's really cool for what we do. You know, like it was interesting to have that data in real time, even on the live stream, just for everybody listening. It was really cool.
I mean, not selling yourself short because you want the race pack for your own data, but as far as the organization goes, that would be a great thing for the organization to keep track of the boats.
Yeah.
You know, now you have something real time. You can watch the boats in real time. You can record it.
Right.
And there's no question.
Right.
There's no question. Did the V-Box work? Did the race pack work? What's this guy doing? It's right there.
Right.
You could see everything. So I think it's great, but you still have to have the race pack for your own data to
Right.
make yourself better in the boat.
Well, and I thought about it. The first time I saw it, I said, wow, how cool would that be? Because for bracket class, we could tell you in real time if somebody broke out.
You'll know right away.
I could black flag a boat that doesn't belong on a course, or right. But the problem with that is, how do you know it's accurate?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, the V boxes that we use offer such a large plethora of just different options. Like I can do longitude, latitude, G-force, acceleration times. I can set points and tell you the distance between those 2 points. I can, so for instance, I could measure if you wanted to take your boat out and make a run, like an average start speed of say 45, 50, right? And make a pull to whatever your bracket is, 70, 75. I can give you real real like down to
Yeah.
the 10th numbers of what your times are, and that's the difference. I think the transponders are awesome though for your audience. I think audience-wise, people watching the race,
Yep.
that's just so cool.
I think it'd be tough for the bracket class for you to watch that because it could, just say that they broke out, and it might only be for a certain amount of seconds or something like that.
It's so
But,
situational.
yeah, that's the problem. That would be awesome if you knew somebody broke out and you were able to pull them off the course.
Right.
Because a lot of guys break out, they don't know, they're in the way, they slow everybody else down,
Right.
that
Or
type
they
of
pull
deal.
them with them.
Yeah.
Or they do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Hometown boys just going to get the flag, or
Yeah.
we've all been there.
Yeah.
But so interesting. You guys came. Now, I meant to ask you this? Did you start in class 7 or 6?
I started in 7, but I only ran one race in 7.
And that's in Solomon's when you guys got.
No. I ran St. Clair was my first race in a super boat, a 21-foot super boat I bought locally here in Jersey. We took it up there. We put a throttle box in it. I ran with a kid named Brian. Ran one race, and I immediately wanted to be in class 6.
Right.
And that's how it went. Then
Did
I
you
was
get
in that-
pitched out of the 7 boat or the 6 boat?
The 6 boat, we went to Solomon's Island. I blew the bottom out, and I had a boat that I got. It was Corsa. It was yellow. Corsa, Cobra, Sinker, whatever you want to call it. Blew the bottom out on Saturday, and then a guy, I forget the guy's
Don
last
the
name.
Maniac.
Don. He was around for like, he went to, I think he went to, was it, where was that race that we went to? Was it Ohio? I don't remember.
Port Huron.
No. We stayed at the GM Center.
Detroit.
Oh, Detroit.
Detroit. That one race, he went there. Then he ended up in Solomon's. He was a great guy, and he asked me to run his boat. And we ended up going swimming, and that was the end of his boating career. I actually seen him before Point Pleasant. He stopped by Kyle's shop, Speed Marine over there, and he told my father I taught him how to swim. And feel bad for the guy because, he wanted to get into it, and that was the last straw, I guess.
Oh, shit happens.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
But-
his Destruction Derby weekend.
yeah, sank one on Saturday. It was back-to-back racing, and then we got tossed out of a 7 boat on Sunday, and then I built the red boat.
Well, what's cool is you guys have vindicated me in everything I've always said, that the guys that come through the bracket classes are the most talented racers on the course.
Yes.
Now, if you look at you guys were separate at this time, right? But
Yes.
you did your own damage in class 7 in Molson Muscle,
Yes.
right? And then you ran class 6 in your own Joker, right?
I went to class 5 after
That's
7
right, the
with the Kryptonite.
Right.
And then I bought the Joker as a secondary boat just to have some fun with.
Right.
And that was class 6.
Right. And so you ran your Martini or P&D? What is that, Jaws?
It was a martini.
Martini?
Yep.
And you ran your Martini in 6 to great success. I mean, you Hall of Champions twice?
I think it was twice. I think it was 6 years, maybe 7 years worth of consistent. We did like the whole circuit.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was definitely taught me everything I know.
Yeah.
If I had to get, these boats are a little different than class 6. You don't get out of a class 6 boat, jump in one of these Super V lights, and you're on the money. It takes some time, but running in the rough water, trim, all those different things that you gather from 6 and even a 7 class boat you wouldn't get if you didn't start somewhere.
Right.
I don't drive the boat. I have driven the boat, but that's a whole different ball game, driving the boat compared to a 6 boat. But throttling the boat, you learn a lot as you go from 7 to 6 to, even if you ran 5, 4, any of that. When you start in those classes, those bracket classes, it gives you a lot of knowledge that you wouldn't have if you just jump right into one of them.
Right. You see, to me, like running, for instance, my green boat, right?
Yep.
My green boat didn't teach me how to drive a boat because at 70 miles an hour, you're in a boat that's capable of 85, 90.
Yep.
And so it's glued down, it's glued to the water, it's in control. You're not learning how to drive a boat at that point. But what you're learning is where to be, how to be there, how to put them in a bad spot while you're keeping you in a good spot, how to, right? And I think it's cool to see guys like yourselves and there's a million others. I mean, Steve Papp, Kyle, right? All these guys.
Yeah, even the latest Nick and Pressure.
There you go, right?
Yep.
So Chase Muller that ran
Muller,
Relentless.
Rock
okay.
star.
Yeah.
Rock
Yeah.
star of the last
Yeah,
race.
he-
Ran the boat like an absolute savage,
I
right?
can't believe it.
So now you watch these guys come through, and you guys, And I think that's the skill that transfers over, is understanding how to move people around on a race course. So, like there in Michigan City, where you guys are running back from, where were you, fifth, fourth? Fifth.
Yep.
So to hunt through that pack now, who, if you would ask most people, would say that's the most competitive class in the world, right?
Yep.
So to come through that pack the way you did, would you say that that's a lot of where that comes from, that old school bracket class, going to war, knowing how to run through a group? Is that what's getting you up there?
Finding your line.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
we even at the Michigan race, usually we like to go inside, run a tight line, less distance, you'll make up for it. But we found out that if we were a little outside, because we had a bigger wheel on, that we were able to come on the side of them and get to the turn before them. And that's where we won. But if you didn't have the bracket class experience, finding a line around the course to maintain your speed, because you're a bracket class, you only got that 70 or 75 mile an hour, you wouldn't know how to do that.
Right.
You would be riding on the inside and just say, okay, this is fine, this is what works.
Right.
But even in a bracket class, 60 mile an hour outboard boat, you want to try to do as close to 60 as you can in a turn.
Right.
Which in turn, in your Super V Light, or Pro Stock V for that matter, you want to maintain as much speed as you can. But you also got to try to get inside of the guy that's in front of you as well.
Right.
Because
Right.
you may have a smaller wheel at some point.
Right.
So I think, a lot of that transfers over to finding your lane.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think the finesse, everybody uses the term finesse skill of how to finesse a boat. And I hate that term because I think it's not really accurate. There's nothing finesse about Pro Stock V.
No.
It's mayhem, it's chaos. There's
Yelling,
no
bumping.
Yeah, there's no smooth finessing driving a boat. The last person I saw do that was Willie Ross. And it's crazy to me that, like, my first race was Morehead City, and we were just kind of figuring out the boat. That was literally the first time I had ever been in it, right? So we're running down the front stretch, and what I immediately noticed is everything that I'm good at no longer mattered. like I was used to, my style of racing is being a bully. Like that, like just bullying people into getting where I want to be. And then I quickly realized that doesn't work.
No.
Like, these guys don't care. They'll just ricochet off of you. They don't. It's like my old man talks about it all the time. If there was one more lap in that Michigan City race, he was video gaming you on that turn, man. He was like, I was just going to bank it off his canopy, dude.
I think your brother stopped him
both of
from
them.
just driving right into the side of us.
He is a smart one out of the group.
During the race, it's fine. But in an extra lap, you don't want to wreck both boats.
Yeah, he would have just said he didn't realize it was an extra lap. That old man
I
ain't
was
right.
going for it. That's what he would have said.
I thought I had it.
Yeah, there ain't no finesse. It's the wrong term. But
No.
it's interesting, man, and it's cool because that class has gained a lot of traction.
Yes.
And there's a lot of really cool people around it now. Like I love the work that Steve and Allie Papp do in the shop there with their YouTube channel, where they're showing everybody how the boats are built and how. And I get a lot of questions, like when we're walking around the pits. And a little bit of it is because I have one now, but a lot of people just want to know more. Like, just want to know more about this class, and it's been around for 20 years. So it's crazy to me, more than 20 years, but it's crazy to me that people are just now catching on how awesome it is.
How awesome it is, yeah.
Do you look? But I guess it's a price bracket too. You look at, like, what's your next option is super stock. It's a little out of reach.
Yeah. Stay put for a little while.
Yeah, for sure, man. But that's a cool one too, dude. Like, watching that one there in Michigan City, I'm so excited to see what everybody else does to go get Torrente.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that boat's a rocket ship, man. He's whatever he's done with the arrow of that boat. It is just, when you watch it go down the straightaway, it's poetry in motion.
Yeah. It's a well-tuned machine.
Yeah, and he's no slouch.
No, not at all. He's got his ducks in a row, and even half of your ducks in a row trying to beat you.
Yeah, he knows more about your shit than you know about your shit. It's crazy, dude.
You go to him for help.
Yep. It's wild, man. But it's cool. We got some cool shit going on. So, and you guys were in Michigan City. I mean, that just to spend 2 seconds on Michigan City, I got to tell everybody at home, I'm not going to go as far as saying it's my favorite race, but that had to be one of the coolest ones I've ever been to. That block party, the fans there, it's out of control.
Well, it's an interesting race, too, because a lot of times when you go to some other places where they're destinations for people to vacation, you have half of a mix of a crowd of people who, that looks cool, I'm going to go see what's going on over there, and half of a mix that are there for the race. Michigan City's different. Every single person on that street, on that beach, was there for the race, which we thought was very humbling, and incredible. Like to have that many people interested and watching and there for that, we don't get that anywhere else.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
and repeat fans.
And repeat fans.
So, like, I had people coming up to me going, "Why'd you paint the boat?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "It was purple and yellow." And I'm like, "It's a new boat." It's, but it's funny because they were there last year and they were there the year before, so they know all the teams, they know all the guys. It's so much fun roaming around places like that. And I honestly, I think you only find that in Michigan, the Midwest. You don't other places we go. You hit the nail on the head, man. Like those parades we were doing. When you're pulling up to the stoplight there to go across and into that little part of town where the whole parade was, there was cars backed up for 25 miles.
Yeah.
And they had their windows down or their doors open, and they were taking pictures and cheering us on. And
Totally into it.
if we did that in Atlantic City, we would just be stopping people from getting to work.
Yeah.
It wouldn't,
Yep.
You'd just be pissing people off.
We wouldn't have tires.
They're
No.
very, very welcoming. Very
Yeah.
welcoming.
No, it's such an awesome city, man. And I don't know exactly the boards and the correct channels to thank and everything else, but Rick and Jack from LaPorte there and the guys everybody involved that helps them put that race on, because everybody, you get acclimated to the one or two people that you know,
Yeah.
but there's a village behind them
Yeah.
that
Oh,
put that
absolutely.
together.
Not one or two people did that.
Yeah.
No.
And that was knocked out of the park, man. Down to the awards ceremony there in that banquet hall
Very
with the
nice.
open bar and catered dinner. and,
I felt like I was in Florida.
yeah.
At that beach and at that banquet hall, I felt like I was in Florida. I'm sitting here second guessing myself, saying, "I'm in Indiana."
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, like this is
Yeah.
really cool.
I went straight there from St. Clair, and I walked up to that little Sunset Grill bar that overlooks the beach. And I'm sitting there going, if anybody didn't go to Bimini, just take a picture here.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's that beautiful blue water. You could never convince me that wasn't the ocean.
And the lifeguard stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
something you see in California.
It makes you think you're like at the ocean. It doesn't look like a lake to me.
No, not at all.
And
Not at all.
so when you guys were out there in Michigan City, just to hammer that one home, the setup you were on, it looked like you were running, and without divulging, like I don't want details, but
We're an open book.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll tell you whatever you want to know.
you're running obvious 2 to 3 higher than everyone else because you had the steady march on the outside, right?
Yep.
Was it lumpy enough to get yourself in trouble, or did you get lucky on that and it was a little laid out?
I think that's a throttleman's question.
I mean, with that boat, we like a lot of weight. I like
Right.
weight even in the flat. I
Right.
mean, a lot of guys, not to single anybody out, but a lot of people we talk to, they like to move weight further back. It works. It picks up speed. It is a little faster, but it makes it harder on him. You know, I
Right.
feel like if we're in control and I could run a steady number and then lose a mile an hour, that's what I'm doing.
Right.
So we've always, since we got, besides from North Carolina last year, we've put weight further forward. We ran Point Pleasant, put weight in the front, loved the attitude of the boat, didn't get the finish. The boat had a couple problems, fixed it. We went to the next race, and I said in Sarasota it wasn't as rough, but it was still a bumpy race, and we put weight further forward like we did in Point Pleasant, and it shined. So
Right.
now anything that, it's got a little chop to it, or unless it's North Carolina or even maybe St. Clair, I'm pushing weight further forward.
Right.
And the boat loves it.
Right.
It stays in control, makes it easier on him, and it just works good for us.
It's
Like
the old
that.
smooth
Yeah.
as fast, you know.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and I
how-
can attest to that. Even
Yeah.
when I ran with you in the 6 boat, we always ran weight.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and going back to anything I've ever done, the green boat's got a permanent coffin in the front of it full of lead. You ain't getting it open.
Yeah, I mean, I was even like the old Martini, the 6 boat. It wasn't, you get it out in the river or something, and you run up against somebody. Kyle and Jay's boat, their boat, even his Joker, any of those boats would have walked right away from me over that 70 number. But the point of the boat was to do the number at 70.
Right.
I wasn't worried about how fast it got to. I was worried about the acceleration, but I wasn't worried about going over that speed. And with these, you're looking to get the most mile an hour, but at the same time, they're hairy. I'd like to keep the boat in control.
Yeah.
Try not to use too much tab, keep the drive level. a couple different things that and maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I like how I'm doing it.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
It's like riding on a potato chip. So if you can
Right.
calm it down, you're good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and so what's the biggest challenge you've had going from your 6 boat, where I don't know your particular horsepower number, but having a significant amount of horsepower, to doing what we're doing now, where we're in bigger boats with less horsepower?
Patience.
Yeah. I mean,
Sometimes you got to wait for it. You know, you sit there and
it's a
I
little
watch
bit of a
him.
struggle. The turns are a little rough. You know, he starts screaming at me, telling me get in it, and I'm already on the dash. And
Yep.
nobody knows.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "Come on!" And
Yeah.
I'm everything she's got. You know, you really don't hear the motor too much either compared to like the 6 boat, the open boat. So
Well, I lost hearing from your 6 boat.
yeah, no, she was loud. You knew when you were in that. But these are definitely power-wise different. I mean, once you get it up and strolling, it's good, but you got to get to that point. I would definitely say trim is a lot different than my 6 boat. Tab, I don't run as much tab because it slows it right down immediately.
Yeah, it's like brakes.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. And really, my 6 boat, and I'm sure you'll say the same thing with your old green boat, we didn't really have to settle them down to turn them.
No.
You know, you kind of just went in there as hot as you could, and you get to a point where you would turn the boat, and that was it. You know, this, and I think the first 2 laps in Indiana, we came in a little too hot, and that's why he was fighting to turn the boat as much. If you settle that boat down and get it to where you want it, it'll turn a lot better than trying to just push through the turn.
Right.
My 6 boat was push as much as you could, you
Right.
know. So this, if you settle it down and you get the boat to stop jumping all over the place, it turns a lot better than just pushing right through like a 6 boat.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot different. You know, the skill set of getting around the course and all that's the same, but the technique of trim and speed through the turn and all that, I think, is a lot different, you know.
Right. So where are you guys at going forward here? Your next race is St. Pete?
Yeah, well, we were really hoping to go to North Carolina because we loved it there. But one of our main crew guys that does a lot for us and helps us out has a wedding on Friday,
Right.
which means he wouldn't be there until Saturday, which means he misses testing Thursday, race Friday, and probably some of testing on Saturday. And another one of our crew guys has a baby shower.
Yeah, he's having
Yeah.
his firstborn.
Yeah,
Attaboy.
yeah, he's having his baby, and the baby shower's on a Sunday, so that means he's done for the whole weekend.
Right.
So that eliminates 2 out of our 3 or 4 crew. It only leaves 2 left, and one of them you can't even get him to tie his shoes. So, how do you think he's gonna feel about that?
Poor Bob.
He was all mad. We were in my
He's good-
shop.
He's
We were
good when you're
talking
ready for
about it.
food.
We were in my shop the other day talking about how we don't know if it's a good idea, and he's like, "I'm standing right here." I'm like, "I know. That's why I'm saying we're down to 1 crew guy." He's like, "But I'll be there too." I'm like, "Yeah, we're down to 1 guy." So he's a little mad at us at the moment. But North Carolina is a great time. I feel like we owe it to them because what they did last year.
Yeah, I'm biased.
I don't know.
I'm biased. And I'm only biased because if last year would have went without Moorhead,
Yep.
it would have been a serious bummer. I
Yep.
mean, Moorhead helped us out in a major way.
Not once.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, we got it done the first time, which was not a first time event. I mean, Jeff's run that race with his crew there in Moorhead a couple times with SBI and stuff back in the day. But to get the first one done, to get back in the saddle, it's a lot. You get the town used to it. You get different officials, different people you got to appease. And so to get the first one done was cool. And then to call Jeff back a week later and go, hey, man, we got to do it again. Inglewood just canceled.
Yep.
You know, so it's, yeah. I mean,
Kind
but
of
no.
unheard of.
But listen, man, you got to do what you got to do. This sport revolves around the guys that push it. It's-
Our crew is, all kidding aside, even the lazy one, is
Bob.
incredible. I mean, Bob, you know, he is who he is, but he gets the tanks ready. Anything we need is ready and at the shop, you know, before we leave. He doesn't do much when we go to a race, but he's good to have a meal with.
right.
Good with the race pack. Me and Mike, we don't know what we're doing with the race pack.
No.
He went out, got a nice laptop, did all that, but Jimmy, in particular, has been with me since the beginning of or middle of Class 5. He's always been a team player, and to have one last hurrah with him, not that he's gone forever, but till next year,
Right.
we got to pull that off for him. Jimmy and Timmy.
Timmy's there already and doesn't even know it.
Yeah, doesn't even know it.
He lives for it.
Oh my God, he loves it. He's yelling at us because we're saying, well, we don't know if we can make it here. We don't know. He's like, we're going. Just get the rooms. We're going. I'm changing the oil on the drive right now. But without them, we wouldn't have the success that we have. Without Jay and Kyle and Kinnaid and Mike over at Speed Marine helping us out with stuff, it takes a town to get the boat there, and then it takes a town to get the race off.
Yeah. Well, and that's the crazy thing about the sport is every level of it is exactly that.
Yeah.
You have a couple of key people, and then you got a mountain of people under them just making it happen.
Yep.
You know, and that's at every level, from the teams to the promoters to the organization. But the interesting thing about you in particular, that it's funny, we were talking about it before we started recording the show, is that people don't realize how long you've been doing this.
Forever.
And it cracks me up because, like, to me, you're just like the one guy that just won't go away.
Yeah,
Not that I want you to, but it cracks me up.
Remember
man.
who bought you drinks when you were younger?
And that's it, dude. It's exactly where I was going. Like, I can remember being a kid running around the racers' parties and trying to sneak a drink or something. You'd always hook me up. And I laugh because going all the way back to that green boat that I love so much is where you started, right?
Yeah.
And when I say that green boat, I think at this point everybody knows I'm talking about the Carrera, but
it's up there. You got it yellow.
it's white and yellow up
white
there,
and
yeah.
red. Whatever Chris could afford to do. That's a Cinderella story. That boat. Chris and I were out one night at a party. Came back to his house at about 3 a.m, and a couple people came back to his house with us. He's sitting there making pork roll and cheeses.
Well, hang on. This is what, 2000?
2004.
Right.
And he's making pork rolls and cheese and
Like
3
always.
o'clock in the morning making a mess. And everybody had passed out, and he goes, I want to tell you something. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, oh, God, what? And he's like, I thought somebody was pregnant.
Or he's coming out of the closet.
or that. Not Chris. He's too sure of what he wants. But anyway, he goes, I'm not going to college. And I said, okay, cool. I said, I'm going. I said, but, whatever. He goes, my dad wrote me a check. He had some money put away, him and my mom, to go to college. I'm not going to college. He goes, you want to build a drag car? Mind you, it's 3 o'clock. We're half in the bag. He goes, or you want to go boat racing? And at the time, I said, drag car, because that's what I knew. And he goes, we're going to go boat racing. Me and Jay over at Kurt's, we're going to build a boat, and we're going to go boat racing. Would you crew for us? And I said, hell yeah. I'm in. Let's do it. Give me that pork roll and cheese. Come on, let's leave now. And, I got to go around the country with my best friends. And we had 12. And when I say best friends, it wasn't 2 or 3. It was 12 to 15 of us. You remember.
I do.
And, I mean, it was the single best time of my life.
Right.
Hotels, Florida, Michigan, Lake of the Ozarks, wherever we went. And that was my start with offshore boat racing. It was 2004, and Papa Duke's white boat with some red vinyl that Chris was able to afford at that time. And best time. The only better time than that was the first day of Class 7, 2013 in Atlantic City, when we showed up and your father looked at us and said, boy, you guys are stupid.
We still do that.
Yeah, still do it. He goes, you picked the roughest race of the year. That feeling with Chris came back in 2013 with Class 7 when we started Class 7.
Right.
But, yeah, I've been...
Well, it's just cool because I was there. You guys were like my heroes. And so it's so cool now to see it full circle, to see all you guys involved, to see all you guys working together. You and Jay still work together all the time. Yeah. Kyle and Mike, you guys are new from those days, but it's just cool to see the whole gang still together. You know?
We have a friendship, and everybody makes fun of us that just won't go away.
Yeah. I've never met a group of people that beat on each other harder than you guys.
We're rough.
Dude,
We're rough.
isn't the word, dude.
I was asking Mike before this. I said, do you want to talk on the podcast how we talk to each other in the boat?
Yeah, we're a little rough. Anybody from the outside comes over, they're like, whoa, what's going on over there? I can't believe they're friends or they're family. You know,
But it's so cool.
He was getting the flag in Michigan City, and we were sitting there cussing at each other.
I was going to get on the start-finish boat.
Yeah.
Get off of my boat.
We're collecting the flag. And by the end of the race, we were screaming at each other. I was frustrated with the P-class boats getting in our way, and he thought I was mad at him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I almost was recording everything with D for the rest of the day.
Dude, I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast, so if I haven't, people get annoyed with me. I'm sorry. But back in the day, Jeff from Freeze Frame would come to your boat, right? And he'll remember this. And he'd have packages. There'd be, you get 20 pictures for this, you get 20 for that. But he had this video package. And he'd drill 1 million holes in your boat, and he'd mount the cameras all over the boat. And, but it was cool. He would go home, and he would edit it all out. He had a way of grabbing the audio out of your intercoms. And you'd have a whole nice, little movie when you were done, And so first year racing, Pop goes down there. Oh yeah, do it. So 3 months later, the tape, VHF or VHS or whatever they were, tape shows up, right? So my mom opens the box where I'm at school or wherever I am. They're working here, so she puts it in the VCR. Pop got home that night. I remember sitting. I remember it for whatever reason. I can remember this so clear. We're sitting at the kitchen table, and I could feel that something's wrong. You know what I mean? I could feel something happen. So my old man walks through the door, and my mom goes, "I can't believe you talked to our son that way," and this, that, and the other thing. My old man called Jeff from Freeze Frame. He's like, "What are you, crazy? You can't send that shit to the house." He's in there telling Anthony, "I'm going to put you up for fucking adoption." I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I thought you were going to elaborate on the porno music he uses while the boat's running.
You're going to have that.
The first time I played one of his tapes, I wasn't looking at the screen. I said, "Wait, what do we put in there?"
Too funny. Dude.
Good guy, though. Been around forever. Always humble.
Yeah.
Always happy to see you.
He's cool, man. And just to not to steal any more Mike's shine, but also something else I was watching yesterday. It was a rainy day at the Jersey Shore, and I'm just sitting doing what I do, watching old race videos. And I was watching 2011 St. Clair, and they highlighted Jimmy Winters.
Yeah.
And you guys were around for the Talking Trash, on the chip. You were around for those days. I mean, how cool was it to transition out of, so we bought the green boat from Carbone, right? Mm-hmm. We got about halfway through paying him for it, and Jimmy Winter said absolutely not, and paid the rest of the tab, and that's actually who got me involved in boat racing. I've told the Bobby Costa story where that's how I got that crazy motor I ran for all those years. Yep. And but not many people know that Jimmy Winters put me on my feet. I would have been racing a 21-foot checkmate in Class 6 still if it wasn't for him.
We pulled into Burger King, him and I, once, and we were getting everybody burgers. And I was a young kid. And I said, "No, Jimmy, I got it. I'll pay for it." And he goes, "You buy me a cheeseburger?" He goes, "Nobody buys me anything." And I was like amazed. And I didn't think about it because he's always buying everybody, whatever he could get them. And that's how he was. Regardless of anything else, he was a good dude.
Dude, he had a heart of gold.
He took me on his team when we didn't have a boat to race on his Super Cat team for about 4 races one year and said, "You're part of my team. You don't have a boat to go watch? Come on, let's go." And I got to be part of his team. The only thing I regret is we didn't go to Key West with him because that's the year he won the World Championship.
Right.
But good dude.
Yeah.
Sport misses him.
Well, and without a doubt. Yeah. And it must have been so cool to come from that, to come from that 24 Carrera, right, to all of a sudden you're with one of the coolest teams that ever existed. And when I say ever existed, I mean ever existed.
Not to shine him against your father and your brother, but there ain't nobody that ran a fountain like him and Curtis Cropper.
They were out of their brains.
Out of their minds in Class 1, beating 40-foot motions. And I also ran with that boat with Jay Muller. I didn't run in it, but I helped him out with it. And that boat was fast.
Yeah.
And they would come past, chime walk in all day long past that boat, and I would sit there and go, "These guys are nuts."
Yeah. Remember the race in St. Clair where he was chasing Ed Smith and they spun it out 4 times? And they were still chewing on his transom?
Coming up to
Dude, and we're not giving any credit to Curtis Cropper, who was a just total wild man. Total wild man. I mean, he's the definition of a wild man.
He invented the bungee cords on the throttles.
Yeah, yeah, and he didn't
A little
need
bit
'em.
of trim.
He wasn't gonna lift anyway. He's out of his mind. But that must have been such a cool, like, just experience to have there.
Oh my God! I mean, we felt like rock stars hanging out with them.
Yeah.
And we weren't in the boat. We just stood on the land, and we cheered them on, helped them get in and out of the water. But down to earth, very humble person to you.
Yeah,
Shirt off the back.
yeah. Well, and one particular memory, I have a few. Like, one of them is that, I don't know if you were there that year when my old man put Dave Scott in the Bacardi boat up against Geico in St. Clair.
Yes.
And that was 13 laps of 200-mile-an-hour war. I mean, that's
what was
one.
It, 218?
Yeah,
Something around
218 on a backstretch. That's just unbelievable shit. That's something that will never happen again.
No.
Like, that was just, they weren't supposed to be racing each other. They weren't in the same class. There was no reason for it to happen. It was just one of those Smitty magic days where
make it happen.
he touched it and it turned to gold. And that was probably the best boat race that ever happened. I mean, that was just unreal.
It was incredible.
But there's only one that comes close to it, and it was the time the Shakes boats showed up with the Lamborghini motors, and I believe it was Ocean City, Maryland.
Solomon's.
No. It was
No?
in the ocean.
Okay.
When Jimmy couldn't be there. I think he had broken his ankle or something. And Billy Moff stepped in to drive with Vinny Rafis.
Yeah, you're right.
And the Qatar boats were an easy 10 mile an hour faster with the Lambos in it and just rudder boats. Everything about it was different than Supercat.
Yeah.
And
Ahead
Billy,
of its time.
Billy and Vinny ran those boats all over the race course. That, like, they eventually got by him, but it took 6 or 7 laps. And it was one of the most impressive things I've ever. To this day, I still say the best catamaran driver of all time is Billy Moff.
Oh, yeah.
And
forget it if he gets out in front of you, even if he's slower.
you're not getting by him.
No.
You're not getting by him. And I admire that so much. Like he's a guy that races like we used to race in Class 6, but with $1 million boats.
With $1 million boats.
He's just out of his mind.
The little
man.
zigzag.
And then you think, like, how crazy is it that, like, you can rub elbows with Jay Muller in Class 6, and he's in that boat throttling with Billy? It's so wild, man.
Jay Moeller is another one. Yeah, I mean, he's down to earth, and you would think with the boats and the caliber of a throttleman that he is, he would not give you 2 seconds.
No, he'll do anything for you.
He hopped in a boat with me when I didn't have anybody else to go in there, and he did a phenomenal job. And I was sitting there in amazement, like, I can't believe he's not even in the boat with me. We're not paying attention to where I'm going.
Right.
you know? But yeah, no, Billy Moff gave me one of my first pep talks. Randy had lent us his kryptonite in 2007 for Algonac, Michigan. The race didn't go off, but I was sitting on a bench, and Billy Moff walked over, and he goes, "Kid, you look a little nervous." And he was going to run the motion with Jay that race. And I said, "Yeah, I'm really nervous." I said, "I'm driving. I don't really know what I'm doing." And he goes, "Just remember, the person next to you is just as nervous as you." And I said, "Okay." And I was still sitting there like wide-eyed. And he goes, "And if you don't think he is, smash into him." And I wish I could do his voice because it sounded much better with his raspy voice. But great guy, too.
Yeah, he's like, if we had somebody you could point to in Offshore and say, like, that's the superstar, that's him. I mean, he just breathes offshore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But pretty wild shit, man. I mean, just over the years, the places we've been, the things we've done, it's just crazy to see it all together, you know?
Yeah.
And so, speaking of together, so you guys have mentioned Speed Marine a few times. I don't know if people at home have put it together yet, but Speed Marine's a local marina here in Bricktown, New Jersey, on Drum Point Road. Manilokin Road. And that's also Tree Masters. But you guys threw that together as kind of like we needed somewhere to have our tree stuff, and then maybe we'll do this boat thing. And look where you're at now, man. I mean, you guys are killing it over there.
Yeah, I mean, Jay and Kyle, I mean, they're the ones to, let shine over there. Kyle's a very good businessman. Incredible. He runs about 3 businesses at this point. And Jay is one of the most underrated boat mechanics in the world. The kid could
And Throttleman.
And Throttleman.
Yeah. He never gets enough credit.
Never gets enough credit. And, I mean, we probably wouldn't be where we are if he didn't help us out.
I would say that.
Safe to say that. But they're just blowing up over there.
Right.
And it's good to see that because Jay was doing something for a very long time for work that he didn't enjoy. I run the tree service for Kyle, so he was looking for something next. What was the next thing he was going to do? And I mean, the boats that are showing up there remind you of Bandit back in 1994.
Yeah.
You know, it's really cool.
He bleeds boat. That's just what he is. I mean, he's been that way his whole life. He loves boats, and he's been around you and Carbone and the whole deal and racing since back in God only knows when. And he'll call me up in the middle of the night and just start talking to me about setup and prop and drive, and we need to do this and we need to do that. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. And he's just, that's all he thinks about all day long. And it's good that he's doing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's cool that the important aspect of that is if you look a little bit outside of those two, you got Kinnaid there. Yeah. That's been with you guys from day one. And I don't know. You guys bring a whole gang with you. I mean, I don't know everybody. But it's always the same faces. Like, you guys seem to keep a pretty tight-knit group there. And it's cool because I know a lot of people in offshore, if they watch this, will think, man, I wish I had that. Like I do a lot. Like, we'll be at the race, and my old man gets busy doing whatever he's doing. My brother gets busy doing whatever he's doing, and you're like the Lone Ranger. You know what I mean? Like, I got to get the truck hooked up to the boat, get the boat down to the crane, get it in the water, don't scratch anything, or else I'll never hear the end of it.
Forgot to put gas in it.
Yep, and it's like, man, you like, I watch you guys, and I'm like, how cool is that? Because it's not like it's a group of, like, paid individuals that you brought it. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's working towards a common goal.
Yep.
And that's so cool. It's so cool to have. Like you talking about your buddy Jimmy there. That's been with you forever. Your cousin Jimmy, right?
Cousin Jimmy.
And Jimmy, by the way, one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Every time I see him, he's just the nicest person. And it's so cool to see that, especially from a racer knows how important that is.
Well, it's a relationship too, and it's a lot of yelling and fighting, and then we realize eating,
drinking.
We realize we want to all go to the same place and have the same goal.
Right.
But it's unique. Yeah. It's unique. I mean,
I honestly could say that if it wasn't for my crew and Kyle and Jay and everybody working together, I don't know how many races I'd really be at. You know, I think he feels the same way.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see right there in North Carolina, we're down 2 guys, and we're probably not going to make it. It's a lot to do, and if you don't have a helping hand, and for me anyway, like, my Sunday's completely shot. When I wake up in the morning, my head's spinning so fast, I'm trying to think of what prop, what weight, what this, and they're doing everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm physically not even able to help them, and without people like that, I think it's, unless you're paying somebody to do it, I don't see, I give props to anybody that does it on their own, because I just don't think we could even do it.
Right.
Right. It takes a lot of it away. You don't have to worry.
The best part about Kyle and Jay and us, we race together. We race together in 6, little bit in 7. I only ran 1 race. They race together more, but no matter what, at the end of the day, if we go to the same race, we go together, we help each other out. If they need fuel and we need fuel, our crew gets fuel, their crew get it. When we're all together, it's a crew of like 20 people. Yeah. So
we can't get a reservation.
Yeah, we can't get dinner. We can't even get the hotel rooms next to each other, but at the end of the day, it just makes things go so much easier. And me personally, I love boat racing. We like to win. I like the competition, but if it wasn't for that connection with everybody, I don't know how many races I'd really do. I enjoy everybody, your pops, everybody. But at the end of the day, if we couldn't all go have a good time and it was just me and him in the pickup truck shooting out to a race, I don't know how many of them I would really do.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think that's like the driving force behind most of us.
Yes.
Like for me, it's not the team side of it, but like I don't like missing races because I miss you guys.
Yep.
Like that's
second family.
Yeah, like 2020, which I hate even saying it. It's like saying the Candyman in the bathroom mirror. It's like 2020.
Yep.
But you look at that, like getting to Moorhead that first time. I stood there Sunday morning on the roof of Jack's, and I had a view of It couldn't have been painted any better. Like, I'm looking down at all the racers, the teams, the families, everybody's there on the docks, and they started that national anthem. And at the time, the world was all screwed up and everything was upside down, and and to see just everybody was so happy to be back with everybody again, and it really resonated for me because that's really why we do this. Yep. That's really, the racing, the competition side of it is something that we would do anyway. It's something we would do in any walk of life. Like if you didn't race your boat, you'd be out in the bay racing somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's something we'll do no matter what. But I think the reason we all do this is because of the whole experience.
Yeah, it's people bring their entire families to this. You
Yeah.
know, Steve Papp, Kyle, Mike's whole family, everybody comes down, everybody hangs out, we all eat. You could go I could have lunch with you, I could have lunch with Steve, I could have lunch with my crew in the same day. I'll have to have 3 lunches to see everybody.
Right.
And we do it because we only get these few times.
Yeah.
You know, you go to 8 races a year. It's only 8 times a year you get to see your second family.
Right.
But you know, just to elaborate on what you were saying.
Yeah, it's. I think it's the coolest sport in the world. I think I don't know. Certain people like certain things, but like I look at offshore and I struggle to find anything comparable. There's nothing like when that green flag goes up. I know how cliche that is, and I know how people sitting home are probably rolling their eyes, going out when the green flag flies. But I'm telling you, when they put the yellow down and the green flag goes up, there's a feeling. There's a tangible thing that happens when that happens. And once you've done it, I mean, it's this. I could say it and you guys could finish it. You can't do one.
No.
Nope.
You're hooked forever.
Yep.
I could tell you, look at the LPC, what was it, WIA, the
Michael
Superstock,
Wright?
Mike
Yeah,
Wright
yep.
and Lauren Peters. Both of them, same thing. They showed up in Lotto, separate years, and they did the do one rate, right? It was
Yep.
like $500. You could race your boat
Yeah,
once,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, now look at them.
Yep.
They're on the news doing double backflips with Billy Allen, and you know what I mean. It's you literally can't do one.
Nope.
It's you're hooked. I mean, the new kids, not kids. I mean, they're men, but you look at I think Vance Hagen with the 555, the old push and tin.
Oh, yeah,
came
yeah.
back as Mean Streak in Michigan City, and I think took third in their first race ever. Ran incredibly close to the number. Like that we watch, I mean, they wanted to see their GPS sheets, and I mean, right on the number, ran that thing absolutely perfect, and now they're in. They're texting
That's
me,
it.
how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we get signed up for Moorhead? It's over. They're in. They're boat
That's it.
racers now. It's, I don't see anything else. Like I can't ride a dirt bike and go, oh, this is what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? This is, boats are just different, man.
And it goes on for 42 minutes.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
a real experience. It's not, like you guys drag raced. Like I've seen some of your Mustangs you guys have built, and a lot of cool stuff goes into that. Like it's not all about, that gets misrepresented. It's all about all this money and all this time for 9 seconds. It's not really 9 seconds. Most of the fun is everything else. Building the
else.
car, trying stuff,
Being with your buddies.
Right, which I think is hand in hand with offshore, but with offshore you get to do it for an hour.
Yeah.
It's just so cool,
It's a real humbling experience too when you're out there and you could actually go down the beach and you see all the people standing watching for 42 minutes.
Right.
Or the hour. There ain't nothing like it.
No.
And as much as you want to hate it and say that maybe you could have more money in your pocket
Uh-huh.
not doing it, when you get the opportunity to do it, you turn around and say, maybe one more year.
Yeah. Every
Maybe
time.
one more year.
Every time. You've been retiring for 10 years.
10 years.
He
10
was,
years.
he was retiring in Sarasota.
10 years, 6 boats. Oh, my God.
So so we know what's next for You Gonna Learn. You guys are going down to St. Pete. Now, how does that shake out for you guys in points? Where are you guys at? You in the hunt?
I don't know if they updated since Indiana.
If St. Pete's a point race.
For APBA, yeah.
APBA, okay.
Yeah. So I think we were in like fourth or fifth. But with first place, I mean, we're probably in the running. The problem is that a lot of these guys are going to every single race.
Right,
You know?
right.
We missed Coco. We didn't go to that. We didn't go to Lotto. Point Pleasant, we didn't even finish a lap.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, we've done good the past 3 races, but you don't just jump to the front over 3 races, you
Right.
know. So,
There's a lot of dedicated teams.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, and I'm kind of jealous. I wish we could do every single one, you know. But at the same time, there's a couple things that get in the way. you
Well,
know?
and we're still on that COVID schedule.
Yep.
Where I've explained it. Our usual schedule is between 7 and 9 races. I mean, tops. And you look at this year where we came out with 11 races. Now, we had 2 drop off in Ocean City and Solomon's Island, right?
Yep.
Which really, really sucks. A lot of us were looking forward to Solomon's
is
big
incredible.
time. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But unfortunately, those are the ones we lost. But you look at it and say, at the time when you're planning a year ahead. So we're literally still in the middle of the pandemic and saying to ourselves, we lost everything in 2020. Yep. If it wasn't for Mark Waddington doing the Invitational and Lotto, and which was only for stock class, and then for Jeff pulling that off twice in Moorhead, we would have had nothing.
Nothing.
So going forward, we planned for that. We figured, okay, we're going to lose
A couple.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's get as
not to
much
get
as we
political about it,
Yep.
but you're going to lose like some races in the Democrat states that were
Yep.
keeping everything pretty locked down, and you're looking at it, with a certain eye, like
Yep.
you're going, okay, this one probably isn't going to go, so we'll keep this one on the schedule. And for years we had a problem just getting races.
Yep.
So it was an interesting position to be in, where for the first time we were like, whoa, we have enough races, like
Yeah.
and where we've never been there before. At the same time, you're looking at it like, who knows what's going to go, and now here we are where most of them went, and so
Yeah.
this is a pretty ridiculous schedule to try to keep up with.
You try to do what you can. I mean,
Yeah.
we're leaving at 4 o'clock on a Thursday to drive through the night to get to a race.
Right.
Because that's what we could do.
Yeah.
Him with his businesses, me with my responsibilities, and all the other guys. Everybody, almost everybody in the Pro Stock V class has a business.
Right.
And you're talking blue-collar guys that are just working hard to get out to the race.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you can make one and not the other, it's nice to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't totally agree with having a whole lot of organizations separating the boats, but I do agree with having that, being able to pick, okay, I could go here because we can't go there, which
Right.
is nice. Like in the interest of St. Pete, we could go there. We really can't make it to North Carolina.
Right.
But we might stop there on the way home,
Right.
We have a bad feeling that if we do decent down there, we're not going to drive by North Carolina on the
You
way
can't.
home.
Might hang a
If
right.
we leave down there in St. Pete, say, Monday, and testing's on Thursday, there's no sense to go back to Brick at that point if you're going.
Right.
You might as well go right to North Carolina.
Wow, and it's so hard to drive past that one.
Oh, man.
That one's such a cool one, man.
We're all upset. He's upset. Jimmy, he's upset about it. The kid Timmy that can't go, it's his brother's wedding Friday, and he asked to reschedule it. Didn't go over so well. His brother doesn't even want to do it, but they're pushing to do it that day because it's been scheduled. They're not going to cancel it for a boat race.
Uh-huh.
He tried,
Uh-huh.
but
Oh, that's not a joke.
Oh, I know.
No, it's
That's
dead
real life.
serious.
Oh, I know. We get the calls. My family somebody will get married, and my family will call, and hey, look, we checked your schedule,
Yeah.
and so we put the wedding here, and I'm like, guys, we just moved a race.
Yep.
You got to figure something else out. It's constant, man. It's constant, but it's cool. It's cool, and so for you guys going forward here, I know you're not super interested in winning the points overall right now. I guess you're just settling in, getting some data in the boat.
Yeah.
But what are you doing? Where are you going from there? Are you going looking World Championships?
I think it's tough if you don't go to majority of the races,
Right.
But
you got Fort Myers after that.
Yep.
And then I guess you got Key West and Inglewood after that. So, and that's been the topic, right? That's been the hard part for our class is where to go, what
Yep.
to do at the end of the year.
Well, the worst part is that you got to try and plan ahead, and we like to know what we're doing ahead of time so we could book our hotels. And we got this group chat that everybody just talks in, but it doesn't get anywhere. So if we know, we want competition. We don't want to go
Right.
to a race that just one guy or two guys or three guys are at. We want to, nothing against it, we'll go, but if everybody's going to go to one place, we should all just go to the same place.
Yeah.
So we've been battling that a little bit, and they were talking about Key West, and some guys were saying that, and then everybody was going to jump on that bandwagon because that's where everybody was going to go, and then it went back to Englewood. So everybody, from what I know, is going to Englewood in our class.
Yeah.
We're booked. Kyle and Jay's booked. Everybody's booked. So that one's 100%.
Yeah.
After St. Pete, I don't really have any answers for any other races because we didn't book anything yet.
Right.
Those are going to be like kind of last minute, yay or nay type of deal, you
Yeah.
know. But definitely Englewood after.
I'm
St.
excited for Englewood. I think the biggest problem with Key West is just simply the cost.
Yep.
You know, that's really what it boils down to. It's so expensive. It doesn't take anything away from the site. The site's unbelievable, but it's just so damn expensive.
I mean, I've been there. I've never been there for the race, but just on vacation alone, forget about the travel there to get the boat there, the fuel, the guys, all that. The rooms alone.
Yeah,
I mean, we started looking before we booked Englewood, and it was going to cost me like maybe, I think we were talking, Kyle and me were talking about splitting a house for like $15,000 for that week of time. And we'd all be like sleeping on top of one another. Yeah. You know, where we could enjoy ourselves for a lot less and only spend a week. Instead, it takes so long to get there and back, and it's just a lot. You know, it's a real lot.
Well, and it's kind of cool too. Kirk from North Myrtle Beach RV stepped up and put in a big sponsorship on Englewood.
Yeah, gotta support him.
Yep.
And so it's just so cool to see our class. It seems like the class is really starting to rally. It looked kind of bleak there for a little bit, but the class rallied, and it's good to see everybody getting along. And it's funny, to your point earlier about how there's a lot of competitive boats in the class. You tend to forget. You'll get so wrapped up in who's in the front right now that you forget who could be in the front tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely.
It's wild, man. You look at, you roll through the boats from you guys to Woolmama, I keep calling him Woolmama, Speed Marine. And you know, you got North Myrtle Beach RV in there, Chris Uzi with Nobody's Business. The list is endless. Like, you roll through that entry list, and how do you not just want to go wherever those boats are going to be?
Oh, absolutely.
Not to take anything against any other class, but I feel like there's not one boat in this class that you could forget about.
No.
That you could say, we're okay. You know, he's on our inside, or there's never a good spot on the pole. I mean, unless you're on the pole, you're in trouble. Right. Every single boat in this class is very, very competitive, and it's anybody's race.
Yeah. Anybody's race.
It really is. I mean,
and
it
it's
could
true.
be anybody.
It's true. Like, we say that about a lot of classes.
Yep.
And I guess you could say, like, you know, like you look at like Super Stock and Super Cat, it could be anybody's day, but there's a handful of front runners.
Yeah. Yep.
You look at our class, and you're right. I mean, it's just, look at Shocker.
Yep.
Right. Look at where Shockers come from in one year. A handful of races. Those guys have come leaps and bounds. By next year, they'll be a competitive boat.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, and it's just wild. I mean, and crazy racing. Just crazy racing.
And you know they're coming, too.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with that boat and its legacy of who it was, Tuggett and Wildcard before that.
Yeah.
I mean, you sit there and you say, that boat's coming.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as they figure it out, we're in trouble.
Well, and you know what's good about them, too? They have the right attitude.
Oh, perfect.
You know, in Point Pleasant, I was standing in the train station, and, he's going to kill me. I forgot his name.
Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick came up to me and just so excited to finally be there, right? Like, just couldn't wait for this, like, so pumped up. I said to him, look, man, if I can give you any advice, have fun. Yeah. Like, don't get wrapped up in, we finished 7th today. You're going to do that for a little while.
And they don't do that at all. They don't get upset about it.
At all.
And I think they do exactly what any racer should do when you first start out. They kind of want to learn what they're doing.
Yeah.
And, you know, they take their time. They're not pushing it per se, you know.
Right.
They're not coming into the turn with all of us boats wide open trying to prove a point or any of that.
Right.
They're doing exactly what they should do.
Yeah.
And
they're sponging right now, which is good. It's great.
Yep.
You know.
That's what you got to do. I mean, you did the same thing when you got in your boat down there in North Carolina.
Yeah, I have to.
You know, you could have very well put it right up there in the pack, but it doesn't really get you anywhere.
You know what it is? I've been doing it long enough that I've grasped the idea of it's not just me.
Yep.
It's not just me. It's not just my old man in the boat with me, but it's everybody else.
Yeah.
I go into that turn, and I lose it, and you lose it trying to get away from me, and it's a domino effect, especially that first turn.
Yep.
The second day in Moorhead, when the green flag went up, we were on a setup that was totally not going to work. I mean, we're there. It was like a 31 or a 30. I mean, it's accelerated like absolute dog shit. And the green flag went up, and halfway down the straightaway, we started getting to those taller numbers. And it's not raceable. One turn, and everybody left us in the dust.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no acceleration, nobody home.
Yep.
But we could have been a hero for a straightaway, right? And it's like, it's so hard to be in that situation and not just keep pushing it. My old man was smart, rolled out of it, let everybody go into that first turn. But
very surprised.
You know what it is you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've been doing this forever, but you don't know that boat.
Nope.
You don't know anything about it. So you got to take your time and learn it and figure it out. And it's cool. And we have a lot of guys doing that right now.
Yep.
Like Class 6. I don't know if you guys got to watch any of that Class 6 race in Michigan City. But Nick Holbert, I think is his name, and Andy Miller
Yeah.
in Kyle's old
And
boat.
they were battling your old boat.
And yeah, racing against
What's
your
it,
old boat,
Deception, your old
Deception
boat?
with
Deception,
Robert
yeah.
Bryan and Jesse
Yep.
Schmig, and what's so cool about
Punching
it,
holes.
Yep.
punching hulls, and
They
have
battled
a,
for a while.
and they got a bone stock 496 in that boat. Like, that's what's so crazy to me.
Yep.
And you watch that race. Sam Thompson also in 626 or 627 is the other Scarab in Class 6,
White and red.
white and red
Yep,
one.
yep.
And he got shuffled at the start. He went into turn 1 outside of Chris Rindle. Chris Rindle just couldn't get that boat around that first turn. Like, he just got bobbled in there and couldn't make the turn, and Sam got stuck outside him. Yeah. By the end of the race, Sam was chewing on third. And nobody broke out. Everybody ran clean. It's cool to see these brand new guys coming in and running good.
And
Because,
getting it.
well, and you got to give a shout out to Fran and Mike, too.
Yeah.
Like so many guys have come up to me in the last couple of races, and they're like, we don't get it. We're here to beat Fran. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Like, we're here to try and beat Fran.
I heard somebody put a bounty on his head.
Oh, yeah.
Is that true?
Smitty put a bounty on him. I don't know if anybody collected on it. I think Fran outran him. But
Yeah.
you look at that, and these guys are coming up to me going, I'm here to beat Fran, and all Fran wants to do is tell me how to beat him. like Fran and Mike have done nothing for the last couple of races but coach these guys.
Yep.
You know, and it's so cool because that's what you need.
Absolutely.
I had it. When I got in Class 6, Smith Brothers grabbed me and took me right under their wing. You know what I mean? And that was so important. I moved up to Class 5, and it was Cohen and Eddie Simmons. You know, and you got to have that. You got to have
it's
that
like
guy.
you said earlier, you don't want to race nobody.
Yeah.
Right.
So if they could get those guys better, get them to come up to the front, they're going to have a better race.
Yeah.
You know, that 6 boat, that Joker, I didn't want to sell. It was an incredible boat. We were gonna have some fun with it when we weren't racing the V Light, and I didn't want it to sit. I didn't want the class to lose a boat by that sitting in the yard. It wasn't worth it. And after I had given it to Jesse and Robert, Mike came up to me, who I used to race with, Pantera Mike, and he said, man, why'd you give him that boat? That boat's fast.
Yeah.
And I said, don't you want to have some fun? He goes, yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
They are too, man. They've been battling. I think I don't exactly remember the outcome. I think Fran might have broke out in Lotto, but that race in Lotto was badass.
Oh, yeah.
That Class 6 race, I'll sit and watch those races every day.
Yeah.
It gives me the goosebumps.
Brings you
man.
home.
Yeah. And sitting there watching that, man, your boat was diving under Fran, and Jesse and Rob were trying everything they could to get around them, and it was just good, clean, hard racing. You know,
And a load of fun.
and a lot of fun, man. And they're gentlemen in that class too. You know, they like Fran and Mike. They run everybody really clean. You know, they do a nice job. They do.
I like seeing the Class 7 guys. Always interested in that because I thought that was one of the best times I've ever had in the industry. And they still do the pizza parties in the parking lot and
Yep.
get together like we used to at the beginning.
Yep.
The only thing I feel bad for is a lot of those people don't know who the Bay Rat is.
Yeah, I know.
You know, John from Hanging and Banging, I mean, that dude's just the king. And when he shows up, they're like, oh, John's here.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, man, you don't even know.
He's the man.
He played me and Mike pretty good. Other Mike that I raced with. We were in Port Huron, and we get a phone call. And he's like, hey, it's John from New York. I'm coming up to race Class 7 with you guys. And we're like, all right, you know, cool, new guy. He's like, I have nowhere to stay. So we're like, stay with us. And he was sitting there, and I'm thinking the whole time, like, man, this guy, all right, another boat on the field. You know, we'll be easy on him. And Uncle Val ended up hopping in with him that race because he had nobody to race. Drove from New York, nowhere to stay, nobody to race with. Uncle Val hops in the boat, and to this day, one of the most enjoyable races I've been in. And he whooped our butts, took first place, and then just went home. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait a minute. But truly a king in that class.
Yeah.
And when I see the new breed eating pizza, drinking, hanging out at the campers, it's just really cool because it's the same old show, just with a whole new group of people.
Yeah, and you know what's cool is that's a class where sometimes we, I guess, take things for granted sometimes. You know, we've been doing this a really long time, and when you get into it a little further like we are now, you tend to forget about some of the little things. And I've been spending a lot of time with the 7 boys this year, just doing videos for them and trying to pump them up, trying to find some funds for that class to keep these guys coming. And I got to tell you, they are my favorite bunch.
Yeah.
They are. Like, just, I know they're a pain in the ass sometimes. They break my balls all the time. They're yelling and screaming at me sometimes, but it's worth it because it's all passion.
That's what it's about, though.
It's all passion, and they love it. And I'll tell you, man, the worst experience, contrary to yours, in my life was running Class 7. I have never had my ass kicked so bad. We got lapped 3 times in Inglewood. Okay, I'm taking
what
100.
boat were you in?
Tomahawk. Okay, and I was with Jeremy Bisson in 22 velocity, and I was about the 4th lap, and I watched Ken Bird go by us, and I remember just being like, "That how could this even be the same class? Like how?" Like, he was 30 feet in the air. You know what I mean? 12 o'clock, 30 feet in the air, and did it like 10 more times.
A land yacht.
He goes by. He goes into the turn, trips it, stuffs it, blows the outboard off the back, and pulls in, right? And I'm like, well, 1 down, right? So we're running around, turn like 5 laps down at this point. Running around the turn, and Punisher comes by, which is literally the same boat that I'm sitting in, right? Same exact boat. 59 miles an hour, trying not to break out in 8-footers, right? And sailing. I mean sailing. High, level, dry sailing this thing. And I remember just thinking to myself, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
I don't belong here. This isn't what I do. This is I do not belong here. I was so impressed. I have so much respect. It was such an honor. Like, and if you look back, the names that are in that class and will be in that class are the names of 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You know, you look at Muller's kids, you look at Jackson Chase, and they're moving up in their own way. You look at Nick Imprescia, who's found a lot of opportunities for himself after Class 7. You look at like Joe Riley and James.
Joe Riley was there at the beginning, don't forget.
Yes, he was.
He was there at the beginning with a big V8 and an old Baja.
And he's still there with a big V8.
He's still there smiling and putting people out in front.
Yep. And here's what's awesome is so many of those guys have now adopted other guys, right? Like his buddy James that he brought with him with Naughty Boys. That kid is out of control. Completely out of control. Wild man. Loves this sport. I mean, loves this sport in and out. He's in forever. You know, and he's there because Joe. Yeah. Joe coached him right up. Joe brought him in. And you look through there, the Lowers with goofing around with Christian DiColo's new battle wagon builds.
Best guys in the world.
Awesome kids. I mean, awesome kids, awesome family. We're in St. Clair. I'm pulling out, getting ready to leave. Rob Lauer comes running up and goes, hey, man, one of the kids, when you guys were pulling through the pits, said they heard a trailer bearing going bad. Now they're boat haulers. So I'm like, I'm going to take his advice, right? I jack it up and I check. I got like 4 bad bearings, right? And I'm like, God damn it, right? Pop and Anthony are halfway home.
We love maintenance.
So I walk in the shop. I'm looking for an adjustable. I'm looking around. I can't find anything. Ed's out to lunch. I can't ask where all the tools are, right? So I go walking out like, we'll just sit here. It's jacked up. He's got all the tires off it. Matt Lauer's running through one side. Joey's running through the other side. Rob's sitting there, doing his managerial,
Keeping it under control.
Just foreman in a job,
Did everybody punch in today?
And why? You know what I mean? Like, why? I don't do nothing for them. I mean, it's just awesome people, awesome family. If we start naming names, I mean, I know we already started, but
they don't forget where they came from.
No,
and you don't forget that where you came from and that you knew them back then.
Yeah, well, and I think the same could be said for a lot of us. Just particularly that family, the Lauer family, they'll do anything for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Rob came and saved my ass in Georgia once. I was broke down with the old hauler with that cat. And Rob drove from Jacksonville. Happened to be hauling a boat that weekend. Came from Jacksonville, helped me get back on the road. Just awesome people.
I think you got your boat off.
I was just going to say, funny story. That's where the martini came from.
No shit.
Yep. Came from their backyard. It had a bunch of weeds in it. He wasn't doing nothing with it at the time. I think
snakes.
Yeah, I think he was building that all fired up boat. I don't remember what that was, but
neither do I. But that came from the shop you guys are in now.
Yeah,
that's the Webby.
Was it Speed Marine?
That's the Webby, Webcraft or something.
That was 50 cal choppers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a Magnum or something, but I don't know.
But that was Kurt Berger built that for Ozzy way back.
I still got the shirt.
Yeah.
I saw Kurt one time. I was still wearing it a couple years back, and he said, "I'm gonna pull that shirt off your back."
I wear it sometimes. I still got it. But it's awesome, man. It's great sport. It's great having you guys back. I mean, I was worried when you sold the 6 boat. I didn't know what you were doing, where you were going. But it's great having you guys around.
He didn't sell the 6 boat. He blew the bottom out of it.
No, that
He
that was in
rides until the
Englewood.
bottom's gone.
Yeah, just ride them till there's nothing left. But that was in Englewood, and nobody knew it. But before we even left Englewood, we already had a deal on my Super V Light. I just kept it hush hush. But
Right.
before I even left there, I had already given a deposit for my boat. And
I was
knew
in the
what
boat
was
with you, and I
happening.
didn't know.
Yep. Yeah, no, I wasn't going away. I mean, stuff happens. You just move on. It was time to move on. I ran that class for years. All good guys. Smith brothers were very good guys. It's kind of a shame too, because we don't talk to them as much anymore, but I don't stay in contact like we used to. I used to ask them, what race you going to? What are you doing? And great people, good family, all good with them guys. It was always fun racing them.
Yeah.
Probably the best people to race against.
Oh,
yeah. They're great.
Definitely the fondest memories
Yeah.
I have is running with them.
I mean, every single race, it was just them and us, battling every single race,
Yep. Yeah, I can remember a time in a World Championship, Chris Rindle rolled over one of the bat boats and speared the bottom of theirs.
Yeah.
And so they were, sitting on the bench like little kids, all sad, So we took Rich with us the next day. He navigated for us in the green boat. Just awesome people.
Yeah, no, they're good. I remember one time in Fall River, you were going to lend them your boat. Didn't you spin it out?
That didn't work out so well. Yeah, they broke
you
a
needed
drive.
a boat.
They broke a drive or something, and they came to me, and they wanted to maybe when I was done with the 5 race, run it in 6. So I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem, man.
Didn't make it through the 5.
So it's like a 12-to-1, ridiculous motor. And so they track down 50 gallons of 110, and they, get it all set up, and they get back to the pits, and here I am halfway underwater getting towed in, missing a drive. But they're great dudes, man. It's great class.
Yep.
But so, and just real quick before we wrap up, do you want to shout out businesses? You want to hook yourselves up?
I mean, besides for Speed Marine, I don't really need to,
Unlimited contracting.
Yeah. I mean,
Anybody needs a driveway poured? Mike's the man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's how we are where we are with the boat. But more or less them guys, because they're always a helping hand, and our crew and our family for putting up with what we do and all that. I would say that kind of covers everything.
Yeah.
The town that helps the boat run.
Yeah.
And it goes to your house, it goes to your garage, it goes to your friend's shop and your shop.
Yep.
Everybody puts their hand in it. So to everybody that's put a hand to help us get where we are, and ever thrown us apart or something we needed, thank you. We wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't have the success we had or are having. The Speed Marine boys, they haven't been out much this year except for Point, where they did very well. We hope to see them soon.
Yeah.
We want a battle.
Yeah.
We want some green
I
paint
can't
on the
wait
boat.
for that. I can't wait for that.
I got everybody else's paint on the boat so far. Mike's not happy about it, but
You better not hit mine. You better not.
it'll match.
Yeah, white on white.
I need a green streak. We've had red and yellow and every other color you could imagine.
Yeah,
But
we just enjoy them coming out because it's it's like family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we want to race them, but
And it's that hometown rivalry too. That's just the best.
yeah.
we're here for the fun.
Yeah, man.
That's
No
all
doubt.
it is.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for coming in and doing this with me. And real quick, guys, before we go, don't forget September 10th and 11th, September 9th, 10th, 11th is the Crystal Coast Grand Prix. That's Morehead City. Everybody make sure you clear your calendars. Make sure you get there. You don't want to miss it. Jeff McCann's got one hell of an event planned. He's got an air show on Sunday, the most patriotic event you'll be to all year. And if you can't make it, catch us on live stream on the OPA Facebook. And thanks for supporting OPA. Boys, thank you.
By the
Thank
way,
you.
will you be doing the live stream with Allie?
I won't be. I'll be trying to not get eaten by great white sharks.
Because you guys did a great job in St. Clair, just by the way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it
Allie's
was really
killer,
nice.
man.
You
Allie's
guys were
killer.
killing it. Constant updates on what was going on, and it's nice to see people that know what they're talking about.
I appreciate that.
Just
Appreciate
wanted
that.
to throw that in there.
Well, good luck in St. Pete, boys.
Thank
Give
you.
them hell. It's
Thank
always good
you.
to see some guys from Brick take home the checker flag.
We'll try to represent.
Attaboy.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you.